Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on what time of the day you're joining us for this exclusive with Mpoki Thompson. Tanzania's financial sector has been going through tremendous transformation. Capital markets are becoming a part of the country's economic growth journey. At the center of this development is a company called iTrust Finance that has evolved from transaction advisory into a major player in capital market investment. With me today is the firm's Chief Executive Officer. Our discussion is going to focus on investment, financial inclusion, regulation, and capital market innovation. Welcome, Faiz Arab. Welcome to Exclusive with Mpoki Thompson on The Citizen Digital.
Thank you, Mpoki. Thank you for having me. And iTrust, more importantly. Look, we are the underdogs in this capital markets at this point. But I think at this point, we have done a couple of new innovations in the market. We have been big players based on the small new innovations that we have done, the likes of the ETF that we have currently in the market. So, and we have a lot more coming, but I don't want to spill the beans at this point.
Yeah.
But so far, I think we have done so-so, I would say. But with our new digital platform, I think we will be able to now expand and scale up our business.
Okay. As you mentioned, before we get into the nitty-gritties of investment and capital markets, I want us to start from a very relatable point of view. Looking at the word I trust, when it comes to investment, there is a lot of trust that is associated with someone parting with their own money to invest, to buy equity, investing in bonds. I want you to tell us, what does trust mean to you personally as far as financial services is concerned?
I think this is a very good point you picked. The name iTrust, I'll give you a bit of a background why trust. Before, our company was known as Iman, which also relates to the word trust. Iman is like faith. And when you talk about money or funds or people's assets, right, they're very dear. It is very difficult to convince someone to say, come and buy this, and it has disadvantages, right? Along with that comes a huge responsibility for us because we have to, mind you, nurture and take care and grow these investments. So for us, the word trust is very big, right? If you look at all our investors, right, during my period as Iman, when we were doing lending at that time, I used to personally manage my every client personally. It was not my RMs, it was not my team. So that culture has come in from the time we started to the time now. I think now my team is quite large, and we work on the same methodology of having trust with us. I mean, even if you look at our investor calls that we have for our funds, we actually open up and give a platform to all our investors at exactly what kind of pool of investments have you done? Where is your money deployed, right? What are we doing with your funds, right? So I think to answer your questions, we are quite transparent like that.
No. Now, you've touched a bit about the evolution of your company from a microfinance, Iman Finance, to now iTrust. You started by being also an advisory company where you advise people on different investment portfolios. And then later on, you evolved to fund management. You've also arranged some roadshow investment, for example, the Safaricom investment, but also the London Stock Exchange roadshow. Now, one might ask, how do you manage to pull all these strings? Advisory, fund management, roadshow. Tell us, how do you manage to pull all these strings?
Look, we do have a lot of support from our board. We have a great team, right? And my team, if I was to look, an average age of my team is around 28 to 30. Yeah, these are all in-house trained staff, right? But looking at what you said about the roadshows that we have done for the likes of Safaricom, London Stock Exchange, right? We are really trying to move our markets, right? Tanzanian markets in the previous years had obviously slowed down due to many factors, right? And we saw an opportunity to kickstart. Safaricom has been I've personally invested into Safaricom, and I really like that company. And we are trying to encourage the Tanzanians, and we were actually at that point we were trying to get them to come and cross list with us at that point. But again, it was a discussion. Nothing really materialized at that point. But it is something that to show off or to showcase, because Tanzanians, we are allowed to invest in all of East Africa, right? So we were showcasing the companies, and because we have great relationships, we have done many transactions, both debt and equity, during our period. But how do we manage all of this? I think there is no real answer to it. Whatever comes on our plate, we pick it up and we really scale on it. We find an opportunity, we push hard, we work hard.
But again, I think I would be interested, and other potential investors would also be interested in knowing how then do you manage a potential conflict where you manage an advisory role in securities, but also manage the fund assets, yeah, like, because eventually there might come a point where there's that conflict. So how do you manage then?
So look, our regulations are quite straightforward, right? Every fund that we have has a prospectus. It has our do's and don'ts, basics, right, through the regulations of CMSA, right? So we cannot breach any of those. So we follow the guidelines of the CMSA based on that.
Yeah.
Based on that, we make those decisions.
Okay.
So anything that is there within our funds or into our ETFs have to have been passed through CMSA before we get into it.
Okay, so now there's been a lot of buzz and a lot of activity when it comes to capital market investment of late within Tanzania and across the region. For an investor or someone who's a novice when it comes to investment, what advice would you have for them? Is the positive chatter that is out there on social media and all these other platforms, does that speak to the reality on the ground? If I am moved by someone saying that you should buy stock, you should invest in certain bond, will I be certain that I will get my investment back?
I mean, I would say do your own research, right? Yes, you can get advice from people who have invested, right? But most importantly, know what you're doing, right? A lot of people jump into capital markets or into any kind of equity or something based on hearsay, right? They do not do enough of homework based on where do they want to invest and what they should invest into, right? That is one key element of a lot of people kind of failing. They try it out and then be like, okay, this didn't work. Maybe it's not the right thing. I don't know what I'm doing, right? And that's why we are here, right? Our expertise lies on these things, right? We don't only advise, but we also manage funds.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the financial advisors who are mushrooming almost on a daily basis, have you ever interacted with any of them? Or what advice would you have for a Tanzanian who's relying on a piece of advice that they get from someone from online? Could be an expert, but again, it is someone who gives advice that goes into the pockets of, making me invest in a certain stock.
Right.
What do you have to say about that?
I mean, look, they are doing something very positive. I look at it that way because, I mean, look, educating about the capital markets is quite important, especially in our country, right? I think it's a growing industry. I mean, the likes of people investing into crypto also is quite large in everywhere in East Africa itself. But why not into our own capital markets? Our capital markets are also quite lucrative in those aspects, and these guys, I think, are doing a good job. At least they are creating an awareness. People are questioning, is it enough just to save money? But I'd say save and invest.
Indeed. So, and that also brings us to a point of financial inclusion. Other than institutional investment, there's also, you have been at the forefront of retail investment as well. That's an individual who wants to invest in different portfolios. What is your view about institutional investment and the growth of retail investment here in Tanzania? What future do you see in that space?
From the numbers, I see that there is a huge upside on the retail side, right? As you said prior to this, the knowledge is not out there, right? People are still very young in capital markets investments. Institutionals have been doing this for many, many years, right? And they continue to do it because they know it is lucrative. But as an individual or as a retail market, I still think it is quite untapped. We still have a huge area of growth in the retail.
And what are some of the risks that you think one should be aware of as a retail investor?
I would look at a couple of things. Obviously, when you are investing into the capital markets, I think the first thing you've got to look at is your exit. I always talk about that. Oh, is it the stock or any kind of investment easy to exit, right? In our funds, if you look at it, it's very clear. It's T+3. In 3 days, your money is back, right? So I know you have covered the exit part. Second, what am I buying? Right? What stock am I buying, or what kind of asset am I buying? How is it structured? If it is a bond, is it a subordinated? Is it unsecured? Is it a secured bond? So do a little bit of research and get some more information, and then you can make your decision based on your assessment.
And in your view, do you think that Tanzania is genuinely investing in real economic growth, or are we seeing the capital market or the investment space being dangerously over leveraged? Because that has become a topic. We've moved from Sukuk bonds, we've seen infrastructure bonds. You saw the first regional extend the ETFs, the East Africa Community Exchange Traded Fund, which iTrust, you're at the forefront of that. Is there an investment in genuine economic growth, or is it being over-leveraged?
From the way I see it, look, our ETFs are the ones that, at least I'll talk about our ETF, the East African Large Cap EAC ETF. That one is investing into 15 different stocks across the region. So in all over East Africa, you have 15 blue chip stocks, right? We are investing into. Now, these are going directly into these companies, right? So we are buying the shares of these companies. How lucrative is that for us? We obviously do the studies prior to buying those shares, and then we kind of put it in a fund, and then we have listed that fund, and you can buy it off the exchange. In terms of the economical growth and how the exchange is moving, I think the numbers speak for themselves, right?
Okay. Now, when we talk about the government's vision when it comes to the financial sector, but also the capital markets, recently, and by recently I just mean yesterday, the Minister for Works tabled in Parliament the budget, 2.6 trillion for financial year 2026-2027. And part of the plan is to use bond to raise capital for infrastructure development. We are focusing in an area where government is facing financial squeeze from development partners. So they're looking at different ways of raising capital. Now, with that comes, of course, the positive, but there's also a downturn. What is your view about the government's approach of raising bond for infrastructure?
I mean, look, the government is going to find every angle to raise funding, right? These are important projects, very important projects. Water projects, I think, are by far one of the largest and the most important areas that the government is going to look at. And if they're looking at it through a bond, I think I don't see any harm in it.
Okay.
I think it's if there is money in the economy and they're raising it through a bond, I think it's absolutely fine.
And if you were given a chance to advise the ministry on what would be the most effective way to go about it, what would that be?
I don't think I'm at that level yet.
I mean, interesting. So, okay, so let's say I'm an individual and I want to invest in that bond. What would you tell me?
I mean, look, I would say it's going to be a sovereign bond, so it's quite a secured bond, So obviously your risks are quite low, right? Yeah. So with low risk comes a bit of a low return. Now, depending on your age profile, I'll advise you accordingly on that. So if you are maybe a semi-retired or retired individual and you don't want to really risk up your capital, it'll be a good one.
Okay. And are you of the view that Tanzania's capital market can fully cover the funding gap when it comes to infrastructure with the current setup that we have?
I'm not sure about that.
Because it is still, I think it's a space that is in transformation. There are a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of headwinds to look out at. Let's look at it from a regional perspective. When we talk about capital markets and its integration across the East African region, we're looking at how can Tanzania play a leading role in investing cross-border and even potentially benefiting from the African continental free trade area. What is your view about the capital market across the East African region? Are we really optimizing the union that we have under the EAC?
I think it is growing. It is a fantastic opportunity. Like, look, markets move differently. Every economy is different, but it's very nice to diversify. I think that our ETF has proven that we are at a cap of what, 135 billion plus. We are a customer base on just the unit holders in the ETF 10,000 plus, and it's been what, 3 months. So there's obviously huge demand, but as I said, the education or the understanding is quite low on that, and I still think that number is going to go above, right? And we feel that we need to come up with different type of kind of instruments, right? I mean, look, one thing is that you can go directly invest, right?
Yeah.
There is obviously a cumbersome process to it. But if you are getting something which is listed in Tanzania, right, but it's serving the purpose across all these borders, right?
Yeah.
So that's the best thing, and then you don't have forex risk to worry about. You don't have any kind of fraud. You don't know who is on the other counter, right? So at least when it is under a structure, it is easier to invest into.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, iTrust has been at the forefront of some of the most innovative financial instruments in the country. We're talking about the first regional ETFs, but also the iDollar. Now, the iDollar fund has been very impactful within the market, especially in a space where we see a lot of volatility when it comes to accessing dollar. Liquidity is an issue. What are your views when it comes to the different diversified financial instruments that are out there in the market? And a follow-up on that is, how can Tanzania deepen its capital market?
Yeah. So I think when we talk about the dollar fund, firstly, I would like to really appreciate Bank of Tanzania being a very big supporter on that. That was our first US denominated fund, right? We launched it sometimes July last year, and it was quite a success. I think it is something which is very unique, right? And we believe there are more assets like that coming into the market. Through either a bond, which is, I think CRDB did one through the Al Baraka Sukuk, right? So we are creating that kind of, the market is creating that kind of instruments to deepen actually the market. You need those instruments in place.
But then again, if you had an opportunity now, because at the Citizen Exclusive, here's where we get an opportunity to directly address some of the policymakers. If you had that opportunity to talk to the government in relation to ensuring that the capital markets, the financial sector is moving as fast as the global industry is moving, what advice would you tell them when it comes to streamlining the processes here in Tanzania?
I think they're already doing it. So I know the Bank of Tanzania and CMSA are looking at, because they also push us, right? Us being the players, they push us into doing new and innovative products, right? Even though I think if you look at Bank of Tanzania, when the Islamic financing came into Tanzania, there weren't regulations at that time. I think when Amana Bank had opened up, but Bank of Tanzania gave approvals, right? Bank of Tanzania said, yes, go, try it out. Same like when we did our sukuks. There weren't really regulatory compliances there at that time, but CMSA and BOT did give us approvals. Go ahead, guys, try it out. And I think today it is a huge success.
Absolutely. I mean, it's great to see that the government has come a long way into creating an enabling environment for business to thrive. Now, I want us to focus on the iTrust bond. For the viewers, I think you were saying this iTrust bond. Can you tell us more about this and what are the opportunities that are?
Sure. So I think before I get into the iTrust bond, I'll tell you a bit of our history.
Yes.
iTrust has been, we have been the first pioneers in Sukuk, obviously. Through our Sukuk, we have done 12 issuances, right? In those 12 issuances, we have raised close to above 100 billion, right? And we have deployed it in the market, and we have done kind of lending products at the time through the Sharia arm, which is Iman Finance. Today, we have come up with our iTrust bond. It is our first publicly listed bond, right? It is giving out 13% tax-free, and it is paying out quarterly coupons, and it's a 4-year paper. So it's quite a unique paper. I think the 13% is quite attractive, and it is free of withholding.
Okay, absolutely. What has been the appetite so far?
So far, I think we are at, if I'm not mistaken, I just saw the number around 7, is it? But we got first we got a subscriber straight away at our launch. CRDB approved, I think, 10 billion straight away. So we got our anchor done. And I think that instills a lot of confidence in iTrust itself. So we are almost halfway done.
Okay, and who's the ideal investor?
Ideal investor, anyone. I mean, look, the minimum investment is 500,000,
500,000, yeah.
right? And the reason why we put it at that low, because we also want to attract retailers, right? This is for everyone. It is not something that I have to put in a huge number into it, right? And 500K is a good amount. Anyone can come in. We are using our platforms, right? So we have also launched our iTrust app during our bond launch as well. We have also integrated with SIM banking from CRDB. So if you want to invest through that, you can always go into your CRDB SIM banking platform and invest directly into the iTrust bond.
Absolutely. And as we're still in the efforts of nurturing the next generation of investors in Tanzania, you've talked about the minimum investment value being 500,000. To me personally, I'm not big on investing in securities. What advice would you have for a Tanzanian who perhaps looks at investing in securities as something that does not immediately pay out? What advice would you have for them?
I mean, look, Poke, I'll ask you directly a question that you see 500,000, a very small amount, but that 500,000 of yours is sitting in a bank account or it's sitting at home somewhere. It's earning nothing, right? You might not need that 500,000 for the next 3 months, 2 months. It's just lying there, right? It's getting hit by the inflation and the devaluation, whatever it is, right? And if you have it in a bond, it is quite a liquid paper, right? It's tradable, right? You can lever on it if you want to put it on Lee and get some facility out if required, right? Now, a 13% return, tax-free, is a phenomenal yield, right? I mean, if it is sitting at your house, is earning zero. Actually, it's negative technically, if you ask me. And a lot of my friends ask me, Faiz, how much money do you have in your account? I said, I don't have any money in my account.
Because it's distributed.
I've invested everything.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah.
But then what's the risk there? I mean, because let's not make it feel like it's an ideal investment space. There are risks involved. What, for example, a person like you say that you have no money in your bank account, you've invested all of it. What is the risk with that?
Well, the risk is I will look at it that I will need some time to liquidate if I want to, right? So if I want to liquidate my assets, it would take me probably 3 to 4 days, right? That's the risk I look at. The other risks, obviously, which are risks to every business. Say, even if I was to have a shop, right? The risk could be that maybe, I don't know, I'm not saying there would be, but if there is some riot happening there, I have to close my shop and I cannot do business for that day, or there's something happened. You understand? So those kind of risks are for those kind of things. But when it comes to my investment, for me, I only look at it, if it's a bond, I need to liquidate, I have to sell it in the market. Now, if the market is illiquid, right? Initially, when papers were floating like bonds, right? You would have to go to the market and sell. So people would sell it at a discount to make it attractive for the next guy to buy it off. So that might take a little bit of time based on the bond side, right? So that's the only risk that I can see at this point.
So now let's look at the future of the capital market. What gives you optimism about where the business or the industry is headed, and what keeps you worried about capital markets here in Tanzania and across the region?
I think currently we have seen the global issues that are going on, right? I think that has been our biggest worry at this point. So we feel that the market might get a bit slow, right? Now, again, I could be wrong because everyone thinks differently. Markets move also with human psychology, right? People, depending on, you might be thinking differently. I might look at it as an opportunity. You might look at it as a risk, right? So when you net that off, that is the market technically. So That is how I look at it.
Okay. And what's next for iTrust as far as capital markets is concerned here in Tanzania and even globally? What's on the radar?
So I think iTrust's vision is obviously scale now. Now we're looking at how do we reach all Tanzanians, right? We have launched our platforms. We really are ramping up our services within the app, right? We have integrated with many players to kind of give you that investment platform and financial services on the palm of your hand, monitoring your investments, seeing on a daily basis where you are, funding your investments if you want, redeeming if you require, right? Giving you that ease of access. I think that also touches on the risk side that you're looking at, that you have that power within your hand to redeem on your own, and in 3 days you get it in your account.
Well, Faiz, we'll end on that note.
Thank you so much.
You were with me, Mpoki Thompson, for the Citizen Exclusive. We were with the Chief Executive Officer of iTrust Finance, Faiz Arab. Until next time, that is a wrap.